I visited a lot of microgreens farms, but this one really blew me away. The crops here look stunning, but what impressed me even more was how they turned a small, simple setup into a well-oiled machine that supplies over 40 chefs every single week. From low-cost automation like a DIY germination chamber to clever rolling racks that work like a microgreens library, every part of this farm has been optimized without sacrificing quality or burning out. If you're looking to grow a profitable farm while keeping things manageable, this tour is packed with ideas you can use right away. Let's dive into Tiny Greens Farm.
My name is Nicole Harris. I'm the owner and operator of Tiny Greens Farm in the Hudson Valley, New York. I have a background for over 10 years now in holistic nutrition. I'm a certified clinician in whole food nutrition and nutritional therapy practitioner. And the reason that I got into microgreens was for my own health reasons. I was dealing with chronic Lyme growing up, and it just wasn't getting better. So that was a deep dive of leaving New York City and out of the fashion world and growing my own food and working in wellness and nutrition. And then once the pandemic hit, I was like, I kind of want to do something more than the nutrition. And that's how I kind of got into microgreens and growing for ourselves and our health. But then that's when I decided, I was growing before that, but that's when we decided to start, producing food for the community.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, which is so cool. And you can see in the quality of the crops, like you can really see, and you use some unique inputs as well, like the soil, which we'll get into soon, which is really cool. Like just for people, like one thing that I thought was really cool immediately when I came in here is most people grow in these racks. This is pretty standard, but seeing the track rail system was like, this is really smart way if you're tight on space, because you can literally grow the racks beside each other like this and just lock them in any place that you want, which I think is so cool. And you said you can get these on Uline?
Uline, yeah. We order the parts on Uline. I'm happy to share with you if anyone's interested in learning what parts they were.
So in terms of the reason you started using this rack railing system.
We maxed out of space. This entire grow room was my entire setup. So that's harvesting, packing, we had a fridge outside, but like everything was in this room with like 4 racks in the back. So we had plenty of space for tables and packing and things like that. So we're gonna be 5 years old in November. And we've just consistently, I think the first year I doubled the business, and then we've consistently been growing by 30% the business after that.
Yeah,
so
it's
just been a consistent growth, and I have a great relationship with like the local chefs and the community, and it's been really, really cool meeting everyone and growing and seeing it on people's plates here.
And you started just in a room in your house,
just
right?
like research and development. We were in a guest room, kind of like researching it, but it quickly came and we had to build out this space in the studio, the studio garage.
Yeah. And you have this is a lot of I don't know the square footage of this room, but it's a lot of production. Like we turn the Nicole keeps half the lights on, half the lights off, because it's a really smart way to manage temperature. Because otherwise
temperature and humidity. So we have 12 racks in here, and it would be like 5 or 6 on during the day, and then 5 or 6 on at night, and that makes it so it doesn't get too hot in the summer, and then in the winter it keeps the room nice and warm overnight in the nighttime. So
yeah. Which is really smart. Yeah.
And we've just had to, because it's just way too much with everything on.
Yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot, which is really nice to be in this room. I would imagine the winter, it's like a pretty special experience.
Yeah.
But there's a lot. You have a lot of production, and you work with a lot of chefs, which is I think really cool. So I'd love to hear, like how many chefs you're working with, kind of what maybe the most popular products are with those customers?
Sure. For over going on 5 years now, we've grown for probably over 90 wholesalers, and chefs is definitely the majority of that. And I'd say consistently weekly, probably 40, 40 chefs, and that extra would be like grocery stores, farm stores, retail, things like that. We have one small distributor now. And then the most popular products, I would say, definitely our specialty. I mean, we have like 2 racks growing of like our basil, our beet, chervil, cilantro going on. And Then we do a farmer's mix. So that's going to be, actually this whole rack right here is our garden mix. So this is a kale, well, I have some peas mixed in here because I ran out of space, but kale, red cabbage. On this side, we have some purple kohlrabi and broccoli, and we kind of, and there's some green mizuna. I'm sorry, I'm like jumping.
No, it's perfect.
Over here. So we cut all that, we mix that up. That's our garden mix. And then we add in some radish in the back, some nice red radish.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of amaranth, a little bit of the older amaranth over there.
Your radish looks really purple.
Yes, the red.
Yeah.
I don't think, because we have a mix of the lights, you could tell. Like
you have some of the blurple and some of the white lights.
Yeah, but these I think are the regular ones. These are kind of due for watering right here, but blurple. But this is Johnny's.
Okay.
This is Johnny's.
Ruby. So this is red radish.
Rambo. I have a
stems are
ruby
beautiful
stem
on this,
here.
It looks kind of like China rose.
And then this is it does look like China rose.
But
I think
it's
just
not
a ruby stem, red stem from Johnny's,
Yeah.
red stem. And then I do the rainbow mix here, just right in one tray. And then I do a brilliant blend, which I don't know if you could see it yet because they come towards the end, but I have a little little micro lentils.
Oh, interesting.
In there. So it's like a rainbow radish with some micro lentils in it. And that gives it, I started purchasing the brilliant blend with Mums.
Okay.
It's sold as a brilliant blend, but with green pea. And it didn't grow, like it had a different growth rate.
Yeah.
So I found the peas were like just too long,
big,
and the radish, because it was a green pea.
Yeah.
So I just kind of made my own.
Which is really smart.
So I just kind of mixed it up myself.
Yeah, I've kind of had to do the same thing myself because like it's hard to get like the growth rate to be exactly the same. So even I've noticed with like mustards, we had to create our own blends of mustards to grow together. You can always grow them individually, but it is more convenient when you can grow just them all together and just cut it all together. It's already mixed sort of thing.
So there's only two we do that. We do the brilliant blend, and then I kept with the brassica blend from Mums, but I kind of made my own. But yeah, I've just, I could tell already, like, it's not my favorite to grow together, but again, just the convenience because I sell it as a brassica blend just to cut it,
Yeah.
But now with the harvester, I mean, we could.
Which we'll get into soon.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot
easier because then I could alternate so even like with the garden mix, because we do that separate, I'll cut like maybe 2 trays of kale and then 2 of the red cabbage, and then it kind of just already mixes it. Like I'll have them all out, but I'll cut it at different lengths and then dump it and just do a quick little mix. So it's much faster.
Yeah. And you guys got to a point now where like you and your husband Corey are kind of running out of capacity and space and in some ways time as well, right? Just it's been a lot to manage growing as many trays as you're growing, which we'll get into some of the solutions to that.
The cilantro, when I bring it out for the first time, I do use humidity domes to kind of help shed the seed holes. But at this point, when there's so much like condensation, this is when I take them off.
Okay.
But then they look like this, where like the seed holes, there's like really
not many
seed holes. And I kind of do that with the basil, but not for the seed hole purpose, just to keep it hotter. So like, because obviously basil loves the heat.
Yeah.
So when it gets to that point of condensation, I take it off.
Yeah. Do you find any issues with like mold with either of them?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
I don't. I think that comes back to the soil
exactly,
and the room temperature too, and just keeping that.
Yeah, and the crops look super healthy, and so I think the soil would be a great thing to show and share. Because I always recommend like ProMix HP because it's easy to get. Yeah. But if you live in the Northeast, I don't know where else this soil company ships to, but maybe it's nationwide. I don't know.
It might be. So the company's called Bio365, and they have all different kinds of blends. So you could work with like a local sales rep to see what would work best for you.
Perfect.
Because there's just so many. But I use the Bio365 brand, and they're based out of Cortland, New York, which is upstate New York. So I get it trucked in. By the pallet.
Yeah. And getting a good soil, I've learned. I'm sure you've gone through that journey.
It's more to have it like sent to me instead of me going to pick it up, because I was going crazy trying to like find it and pick it up, and this person carries I was getting Lambert at one point too. I was using the Lambert organic, but Yeah, there's just you pay for the convenience and the consistency. And it's almost like an insurance policy. Like you're going to have this consistent product. It's not sitting out in the rain and you don't know what you're getting, or if the compost is sitting in it, which I don't use the compost based anymore.
Yeah.
But,
it makes a really big difference. And like you're right, like
less of a headache.
Yeah. And then also, if you're trying to build a business, working with chefs, reliability, which we were talking about before we started filming, is so important.
Yes.
Because chefs are now used to being disappointed by growers that don't deliver what they say they're going to deliver. That if you actually can deliver what you say you're going to deliver, you're at an advantage.
We're used to ordering from a purveyor or distributor, right? So there's this like a different way of ordering where they're used to that consistency of like, oh, I'm going to get this in 2 days. It's a little bit more training of like, hey, this is grown for you. And just to like get that standing order in, but then also the consistency, I should say, of getting that product. I'm not a distributor, but to grow that consistent is makes a big difference.
Yeah, and it takes time to practice growing the crops to make sure you can consistently grow, and having a consistent soil and a consistent environment. Like all these things contribute to that. And you could see some blue fans at the top. There's air conditioning in here. There's two dehumidifiers. You have the infrastructure in place to keep a lot of production in a small room in a relatively consistent environment, which helps on top of all the knowledge I can imagine you've accumulated over the last 5 years, kind of just experimenting with all the different crops.
And also just another point too, like we're in our spring, summer menus. So I know you could grow anything year round, but I think when we interviewed, I was like, I grew over 50 varieties and all this, but I broke it up now. I find it fun for me, but also the chefs because they grow seasonally. So I launch a spring, summer, and then a fall, winter. So I'll take, like, this is the micro cantaloupe, right? And then I have some lemon basil in the back. I'll take those crops out of spring, summer, or out of the fall, winter, I should say, and then start adding in more of different offerings. So it kind of keeps it different and fun. Like, oh, what's going to be in the fall, winter? I try new stuff. So like, I have like a red Russian kale for the fall coming up, and like I'm going to test that out. So just different, just to keep it fun.
And it's really smart too, because like if everything's always available, then there's less urgency to use a product. Whereas if it's available for a season, let's say fall, winter, or whatever, then there's more excitement around the product, especially with chefs. Like, oh, the cantaloupe's back now. Like we can start using it in certain dishes. Like,
I mean, there's consistent order, like the micro cilantro, like that's just year-round demand, for that. So I'll keep that. The micro basil, obviously year-round, but I'll play around with the different basils. So like maybe in the fall, winter, I'll do a cinnamon basil, and I'll keep the purple basil. Well, I'll take the lemon off, right? So it's just to kind of keep it interesting and
it also makes
rotate seeds.
Yeah, totally. It makes sense to have the ones that are most popular be year round because it's going to drive a lot of sales for the business, and it's the ones that the chefs want to use the most, right? Whereas some of these more unique varieties that maybe you're not going to grow 20, 30 trays of cantaloupe, but if you create that seasonality, it creates more demand in a shorter period than if you had it year round. And it's also seasonal. Like cantaloupe's a summer crop, like lemon basil sounds like cinnamon basil sounds like more like it's like fall. Like pumpkin spice kind of. It's got that,
Exactly.
So
exactly. The color is more purple in the fall, things like that.
Yeah, totally.
Just keeps it fun too.
So I'd love to see how you do things around here.
Sure.
So maybe let's start with the soil.
So we're still relatively small. So we get the pallet in, actually have the pallet coming tomorrow or Wednesday. And we screen it. We fill these 2 large bins up, and then we still plant by hand. We fill tray by hand. So we'll take a tray that's been cleaned and sanitized. And then I just get a feeder scoop from like any kind of Tractor Supply store, right? And like 1 full scoop is probably good for 1 tray, if that. I kind of put it up on top a little bit, and then we kind of built this to save on soil. We've noticed we didn't need it all the way filled up all the way to the top. I mean, it might change your watering if you change this, right?
Totally.
So just to be aware of that. But we just noticed that we don't need as much soil, and we just kind of spread that around, and then we stamp it. I just stamp it a little bit because then when I get to a certain, I stack them a little bit. I press it down when they're stacked.
Yeah, I think that it's like this is the stuff I love about visiting farms. is
and then you get those nice like little lines right there.
Yeah.
But I'll do that when I stack like a good 10, 12, and then just to save time.
Yeah, the more efficient, the better.
Yeah.
But this thing, it's such a simple tool, right? It's just like out of a piece of wood or something like that. And for people that want a specific height in there.
Almost like if you make your own stamper, right?
Yeah,
you just kind of find something to just kind of knot in.
Yeah, but that's so smart because like otherwise you're kind of, not want to say forced to fill the top, but you can get uneven soil level without something like that. So if you wanted to fill it up halfway, then like something like this, anyone can make at home.
Yeah, so it's like 3/4 instead of like all the way full, or close to half. Yeah. That way it just saves on soil a little bit.
Totally. And that soil adds up, right? Like if you don't need that much soil.
Yeah.
And it's also like the soil you're using, I think, is from what I can see in the crops.
Yeah,
so
it's like a nice mix.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful mix. So it looks like it's like you said a peat, coir, it's got perlite.
Yep.
And then based on what the crops look like, there's got to be some sort of fertilizer in it, probably some organic fertilizer.
I would say so. Yeah. But I could get the actual blend for you and the info as well.
Totally. And then from there, so once you fill the trays.
So once I fill the trays up, it's like a very small space. I'm just right behind here. I stack them up here. And then I would lay them out here for planting.
Yeah.
So we could even, if you want.
So when you plant them, most people will generally seed by hand, which you guys have done for a while.
I did. So first it was by hand, and then I started to pre-measure it, but then it was like pre-measuring the day before or the morning of, and then I tried doing it like the week before. And I have a staff member a part-time person that kind of helps me here and there. So she would be pre-measuring on Fridays and kind of just prepping me for a big planting on Monday, because I do all the planting myself. And at this point now, we had to get something like the little green seeding machine, because that not only saves me time, but it also saves my staff member time. So instead of her measuring seeds for me, she's actually planting now for me on Fridays.
Amazing.
Instead of, So I get a head start on all my specialty crops, a little bit of the longer crops. And it helps it because now the longer crops are not going into the weekend where I have to take them out.
Yeah.
And now it's going into it times it with everything else that needs to come out for the week. And then they're just ready. It's have that beautiful true leaf. So
do you think you would have transitioned to have staff plant if it was manual, or is it too important?
No. So that was really the reason why. Like, I'm not. We're joking around. Like, I'm not this big farm. Like I'm so happy you want to come, but I'm not this like huge facility. But we're not at the point of where we want to scale yet. We homeschool. We have 2 young kids at home. We're happy with the customers are amazing. Like, we're happy where we are right now. It's how do we get more efficient in what we're doing now, right? How can we keep growing in that space without having to lease something or get this huge business loan out and restructure everything, which is eventually going to be the future. But how do we work right now in the most efficient way? And that's where we found first it was getting the quick cut harvester, and then now with the little green seeding machine. And it's making my work faster, but then it's also easier to train someone else. So eventually we could get away. And you think of like your business goals, and it's sad to say like a family vacation is a business goal of mine, but just having that, day to day, week to week, as and it always stuck in my head. It's not profitability, it's the burnout. That is the issue for microgreen farms.
Totally. Yeah. To be honest, it's a good problem to have when you think about general business. It's pretty hard to make money, like in average business. With microgreens, I don't want to say it's easy, because it's not. It still takes time to learn and to scale and to understand the crops, understand how to sell.
Yes.
Which obviously you've been able to do very well with having so many different chef customers. But once you get to a certain point, like if you don't plan in advance, you're going to find yourself just in the task day in, day out, and you don't have the energy to start researching what are better ways to do things. How can I harvest faster?
Head down in those tasks.
And then by the end of the day, when you would normally maybe do some research and figure, okay, like how can I seed more efficiently, or how do I harvest more efficiently? You're so tired and burnt out that you're just like, I just want to relax and like spend time with my family or whatever.
So like 2 things that I knew that these were great investments was, one, for the harvester, I don't know why I did this, but I had a photo shoot on Harvest Day. I'm like, I don't know why I did this, because I was just like me and one other girl. I'm like, what? I was like, oh, she could get some action shots. I'm like, no, but like that's not like what were you thinking? So I was behind in harvesting because we had to do the photo shoot, but then I just ran everything through that quick cutter, and I'm like, we just saved like the 2 hours that it took for that. And then the little green seeding machine, like it's just, you don't realize like the day-to-day how much it is on your body and standing for so long. So the fact that you could get it done so much faster, I'm like, oh, my legs don't feel as heavy at the end of planting day. Like I have energy now to go like cook dinner and be with my kids and like be present, which is what I want to do. Obviously, it's hard as a working parent or, you know, when you own your business in general. So the fact that it's just like less hard on my body after an end of a long day is you know, definitely feel the difference.
Totally.
Yeah, physically.
That's amazing. And one thing that it looks like you're slowly moving towards from using the harvester and the seeder by hand is you've got this conveyor belt here, which is, I think, I found out about this conveyor from a farm that was a beta tester of the seeder. And he was like, he put it on a conveyor belt, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. Like, it's so much faster on the conveyor belt. And I was like, whoa, you can attach the harvester to the conveyor belt, you can attach the seeder, and potentially, if you want to, a misting bar or other things that you can DIY pretty easily. So it's for roughly $350, you can like speed up your harvesting, speed up your seeding, even more than doing it with just the tools themselves, because you're constantly can run through tray after tray, or you know, for either task. So I'm excited for you guys to start using that, because I think you just got this recently, right?
We just got it, just built it, so now we're just kind of playing around with like how can we do it right now. It's like obviously not like don't want to use it as a table, but we've been using it on the conveyor belts after we push through the harvester, the trays. It goes onto the conveyor belt, and then the trays get dumped. So at least we're using it at some purpose, but I think the next would probably be the seeder, realistically, and then looking into like how we can do it on a harvester. But just we have to control, I think, a little bit more with the harvester. But the seeder, I think, would definitely speed things up for me. Since I'm by myself too on planting day mostly, that would be the next step.
And I'm excited to see that. So after you seed, so you'll use the seeder now to seed
we
on the
stack
table.
dry, and then I'll put it out. I close the thing, but we'll put it outside to water.
On the table.
Restock it, and then right behind you we have germination racks right here, and then they'll be in here. So like some of these are planted Friday, so they're like good to go to come out at some point. And I also I only have like 2 popcorn, and I used to grow it in there, but it was a pain to try to hide it with the light. So these are going right now.
Oh, nice.
The popcorn, I just keep those in there.
That's smart.
With
pretty
the germ.
Warm in here.
It is. It's 75.
So
we have like
a perfect temperature.
We have like
humidity.
Temperature control in
perfect.
here.
Okay,
for the winter months mostly. I really don't need it now in the summer, but it's been cool in New York.
It's been cool in Canada too.
It's been cool and rainy, so we've needed it a little bit longer, but so then they all get stocked in here, and then we take them out and put them in the room. So it's really just a quick like key turn, like turn it around.
And this is just a rack with
just the same rack.
Where did you get this cover? Because I feel like
this is on Amazon. I got this right on Amazon, so I could link that to you too if you want. Because it opens up in the back, you can open up the sides.
It's I've never seen
we have
this
the
specific one before.
control over here for the
So it's got a heater connected to that.
No, I purchased the heater separately.
Got it. Okay.
Oops, sorry. And then it's like an AC Infinity over here.
Oh, cool! It's got AC in there too.
Yeah, AC Infinity, I think is the company.
That's so cool. I've never seen such a small...
And then you could set that up, and the heater goes right underneath, and then it
incredible.
keeps it nice and warm in the winter. But again, we don't need it. We don't need it for the summertime.
Like it's always... this is what I love. I love coming to farms, because it's like these small things that just make it so much easier. If you're just starting a farm, or even if you've been growing for 5 years, like this is a low-cost solution.
And that's on Amazon too. I mean, that's a little more pricey, but not as much. I mean, maybe $99.
Yeah, but like, to buy a germination chamber costs
Oh yeah, so you just kind of
plus.
make your own.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
you kind of make
incredible.
your own. So.
And then the second one's just for like over when you need more.
Yeah, this is a second one now. So we have a second one. I don't need it. I put it away. But this is for. And then also we were playing around with the shelves because in the winter we might put some lights on
Okay.
in the winter and maybe try some edible flowers to keep those going in the winter because we have some outside growing right now seasonally. But eventually just to play around with it. It's a nice little add-on that we do. It's not, obviously microgreens are the main offering.
But when you're selling to so many chefs, it's such an easy,
Yeah.
especially with the space outside. Maybe if you had to go inside, it might be, especially running out of space.
Well, right
you know?
now, for sure. But we keep it seasonal and, maybe eventually playing around with maybe like a grow tent or something with that. But
do you find the sales are like in the summer is your busy month, or is there a peak season in the winter as well?
Yeah, no, summer is the busy month, especially like weddings and caterers and more restaurants on like the waterfront because we have the Hudson River right here.
Yeah.
Those open up seasonally too, and more people just kind of go out and flock to there.
Yeah.
So it's definitely seasonal. I'd say by like May, around mid-May, like after Mother's Day, it starts to pick up. June, like we hit the ground running. Everyone wants to double their orders, which is great. After November, it slows down, but my grocery stores stay consistent.
Okay.
I don't know, like they kind of dipped in the summers, but now they've been really
amazing.
Steady though.
Yeah,
they've
the
been
grocery
really
stores.
steady. Yeah. Now they've been pretty steady, but working mostly with chefs, you do have like this flow of private events and things.
And the summers just gets crazy.
Yeah, January it's like obviously in the hospitality here it's like dead. So maybe that's when we go away.
That's probably totally. I was gonna say that I was just curious on the specific area because like there's some places where there's like a winter peak if it's a ski area, and then there's also could be a summer peak. But so your grocery stores kind of help over the winter months to keep things steady.
And now we're in like a small distributor, so that may help. But
true.
I think they're mostly restaurant based too, so they might get this influx as well.
What percentage would you say roughly like is grocery store versus restaurant?
I'm like 80% restaurants, and then the other 20 is probably retail. I would say. Because I also not just grocery stores. There's so many other farms in the Hudson Valley. So instead of grocery stores, I've actually been working with farm stores.
Amazing.
So I work with larger farms in their farm store. I get like an influx of like the pick your own season. So like they'll carry more during that, but also their CSA season. So a lot of farms have moved away from like the CSA. I have a traditional, a farm in Poughkeepsie that has a traditional CSA, and we do a microgreen add-on. So it's a bi-weekly add-on for their members, and it's really cost effective. It's not much for them to add it on to their full season, and it's really convenient. A lot of farms I find, the larger ones are going to like a member's choice CSA, where it's like a gift card, and then they can choose, because that's always been, I think, like a bump in the road is like with they can't CSAs. Choose what they want, they get what they get, or you could choose from certain things. But so anyways, I'm in their farm stores either year round or it picks up with the pick your own season. So that's so good. Really working with other farms that way more than grocery stores. But again, I have a presence in some grocery stores as well.
I love that because it's not something you often think too much about because you're always trying to like sell to, the traditional outlets. But I think that's a really smart way. If you live in an area where there's a lot of farms and they do have CSAs, that's a perfect way to
and don't be afraid to approach them because it's like, I'm going to grow microgreens, but they could do it themselves, but they really can't because they're so focused on their major crop of what is, profitable for them. And this is such a niche product that, it doesn't really, if they don't have the time or the capacity, I'm sure they have the capacity, but it's really the time. Do they want to learn a new crop? Do they want to learn all these different crops when they could just purchase it wholesale and resell in their store? So
I think it could be a common concern people have because like I had that at the beginning where it's like, if you tell people how to grow, are they going to like end up competing with you? Because I did consulting in the same area as my farm. And then after a while, you just realize that maybe, but like so many things need to align that they're going to start like growing microgreens and competing with you and stuff like that. And it's a much better way to think about how to collaborate because if you had that mindset and that you would have never contacted these CSAs, right?
Right.
Because you were like, how do I collaborate with
or
more
just even different
like-minded people?
growers in the area. They're amazing at what they do, and they have their own, markets, right? So like we find our own way, and who you are as a person, and the connections that you make separately, that just kind of grows your own business. So there's really room for everyone.
Yeah.
I feel, and you just kind of find what works for you and your connections and what you grow and what works for you personally. So.
And then also, your husband Corey was mentioning earlier that just like chefs know chefs, and then they just kind of the network of chefs in the area.
And we have the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, which I've also worked with them inside with chefs as well. And they have like a farm to table sustainability or applied food sciences classes where I was working with the chefs there, and other institutes too. So it was funny how I work with another Vassar college here with their student life and wellness department, and I teach the students how to grow microgreens. And we actually went and set up a rack in their department.
I love that.
And I go every semester because there's a new group of students, and I teach them. That's like a volunteer, it's a volunteer thing for me. But I really love to see the students and college students grow their own nutritious food is great. And then they disperse it on campus. They go to nonprofits and they donate it. It's a really great.
Amazing.
And then I didn't even share this with the person I work with there, and she shared your basil YouTube video with me. It's like, oh, look at this. So there is this interest in it, and it's different markets. It's just thinking a little bit outside the box. If like a certain sales funnel is not working for you, just like kind of thinking differently of ways that you can incorporate. And I also do. I don't have the time, but I also am doing workshops too, like planting workshops here and there. I'd love to do more, but maybe when my kids get a little bit older. But I am doing one this week, this Friday. It's an edible flower planting workshop and microgreen workshop. And this woman has her own like beautiful greenhouse across the river. So we're gonna do a nice little setup there. But it's connecting with other people that grow, but also maybe yoga studios or fitness outlets or meal plan. There's just all different ways that you can do it. Just find what interests you, and if it's not working in one direction, there's so many different ways to think creatively.
Totally, I love that. I think that there's so much opportunity in. Just thinking outside the box with this type of stuff that you might, maybe you live in an area where there's not a lot of grocery stores.
Right.
Like this, I would imagine this area there's not like a ton of grocery stores because it's not a small town, but it's also not like a city or anything like that. Right. So you can just immediately say to yourself, oh, there's no grocery stores. How am I going to sell microgreens?
Right.
But there's, like you said, there's so many other opportunities. You just have to be willing to kind of think outside the box and honestly just work with like-minded people, and that just makes life and running your business a lot easier,
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the beauty of like being entrepreneurs. Like there is no one path you have to take. It's not like, okay, Tiny Greens did it this way, therefore I should do it this way. You take what works for you, and maybe that's selling to chefs, maybe that's selling to other farms, and then you make your own little zazz and twist to like you want your business to be, because there's no one else that is gonna like you drive the business, so you can choose. There's no one path or right path. It's whatever works for you, and it's cool to see you kind of finding what works for you, what you enjoy, what type of customers you enjoy working with, and kind of just running with that. And it's amazing to see the farm.
I love
like
all my chefs; they're great.
I can imagine. And then when you go to like one of those restaurants and eat out, I'd imagine it's very rewarding.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely. I was like, which one has the microgreen? I have a sandwich shop, actually. It's like a butcher shop and sandwich shop. I'm like, which one has the microgreens? I'll order that one. So no, it's great. It's great.
So getting back to production.
Yes.
So you keep them in here. You obviously you must have some sort of schedule that you kind of stick to with the racks, and then is
plants on Fridays my specialty. Mondays, like today's my big planting day, so this will all get filled up. Wednesday's harvest day, and usually between Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, depending on the germ for some of them, 2, 3, 4 days, they start to go out. Depending on the germination. So, which is nice that some of them are like 2 days, 3 days. So it's not, you're not doing it all at once. Which I've had to do sometimes in the past. It's not fun, but so then by Thursday, when my deliveries go out, everything is refilled in that room.
And you just carry it by hand.
Yeah, well,
there?
we have we set up table.
Oh.
Well, I'll even just reuse this table at this point too.
These are on wheels?
No, I'll just unstack and just kind of go.
Oh, got it, then go.
I usually
Yeah.
have my part-time helpers at that
Got
point,
it,
so
okay.
they'll pull out. I do plant with the black underneath, so I do have to wipe them, a little quick wipe.
Okay, got it, yeah.
I tried without, but for some reason for me, I guess not all of them, but some of them started to grow through the
Interesting.
tray.
Huh.
Maybe more so for the peas.
Okay.
They started growing through the slots.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, I'd rather just right now, at least
Just
at
keep
this
them stacked.
scale, just keep it the way that it is, unless I have to change it.
Yeah,
when they get
yeah.
bigger.
But just so people know that there is an option.
Yeah.
That's how because we didn't
Yeah.
have the bottom tray at our farm, so
Yeah.
we would just stack them without the bottom tray, and then if there's any dirt or anything on them, then you just the other tray
Yeah.
goes in them. So
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe for specific crops, it might not be the best idea. So test it on your own and kind of see.
Yeah, it
what
worked
works.
great, but then because I need the bottom, would have to put them back on anyway. So it was just
True.
another step.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like, let me just keep, the less steps
Yeah,
there
yeah.
possible.
Especially during the busy
Yeah.
transition period.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe let's go back in
Yeah,
the room. So
sure.
you harvest them, and then the
So I harvest
spence
them on this table.
with the harvester.
With the
which
harvester.
Just, I'm sure
Yeah.
you guys have seen this before.
Yeah.
There's a standard quick cut greens harvester.
Yep, I have all my packing and my seeds back there. So the packing's ready to go. We just pull
Perfect.
those out. Again, I told you, it turns into transformers. So
Do you label them beforehand or label them the day of?
label them the day of, but I print them beforehand
Got
and
it.
I stamp them.
Okay,
So I
so they're
figure
ready to
out,
go
yeah. So they're just
other
ready
than-
to go pull,
Yeah.
and then we put them in the
Yeah.
fridges. Yeah.
And does your restaurants have a different size? What's the standard unit size you guys use?
No, I use the 16 clear shallow for stores and specialty, and then I do the 32 and the 64 for the restaurants.
Okay.
So I would put a half a pound, 4 ounces in the 32 ounce containers, and then an 8 ounce. No, that's an 8 ounce. I'm sorry, half a pound, quarter pound.
Quarter pound, yeah.
4 ounce in the 32 ounce containers and 8 ounces in the 64 ounce
Got it.
containers. Those are just for the restaurants. So I go through a lot of those and wholesalers, and then just the 16 ounce would be for the grocery stores. But I try to keep the same and the less purchasing less.
Totally. Yeah.
Less
Especially during
sizes,
COVID,
the
I can
better.
imagine.
Yeah,
it
so
was
the
a whole
16
thing.
ounce, it was a 24 ounce, but I found the 16 ounce clear shallow ones. And that's for my specialties. So that'll be for your basils, the beets, and all of that for the restaurants. And then just those are the store packs, the retail packs too.
And then once you harvest them, what do you do? You just have a compost pile?
Yep,
outside
we just dump them outside in a wheelbarrow and we throw it in the compost in the back. Yeah.
And then washing is just with a hose
And
end.
then we
sort
have
of
a
thing?
pressure
Oh,
washer
perfect.
over here set up.
Just it's
Hook
electric.
that up to the hose. Yep, it's
Yeah,
electric.
yeah.
Hook that up, and then we sanitize, and we stack here to dry. We kind of made our own little slots.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of trays. It's like a tray library.
It is like a tray library. It's really nice. But I love your podcast, and I'm learning more. I'm like, oh, so I don't really have to do this as long as they're sanitized.
Yeah, yeah.
I could just keep it, if it's a little bit wet inside, it's not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
But so then I have 2 labels. These are my retail too, so it's easier for staff. So my retail is a craft
Yeah, I
background
love
and
the
a different
color, yeah.
label. And then I kept white for my restaurants with my original label. I don't know if I'll change that yet.
Yeah.
But
Chefs
so
don't
they
really
know,
care too
but just
much,
so
yeah.
for staffing,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
white is restaurants wholesale.
Smart.
Brown is the craft is for retail.
That's really
so then
smart.
they know what to pull when
Yeah,
when they're
totally,
packing.
Totally. And this is the stuff that you don't think about when you're just doing it on your own, but when you start wanting to hire people, which you're starting to get into
Because you
now.
know everything in your head.
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, but then getting it down on and I think ChatGPT could be a great way
Yeah.
for people to take their
Definitely.
processes, just blurt it out to ChatGPT in
Yeah.
a long voice note,
Yeah.
and be like, can you create some SOPs for
Yeah,
me? It's amazing
exactly.
how useful it can be. And then it looks, I won't show this, but it looks
Oh,
like you
yeah,
have all your
these are
days
my
planting.
caterers over here. So
Yeah.
they have different events. So it's how many, it's a single order, double order, no order this week. I have a flour person down here. There's some of my mixes
Yeah.
of what's in it, my distributor order, and then just trying to
Keep things organized.
I have to keep it in
Yeah.
front of me,
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah. And
Otherwise I'll
one thing
forget.
I was that I thought was really cool with these rolling racks is the way you specifically put the outlets in spots so that you can roll the racks, because that's one thing that like someone might be thinking like, how does it work with the electrical?
Right.
And so you plan this out to have these outlets here?
Yes, these outlets were here instead of like on the ground too. Because then you're also thinking, well, I mean, I know the water could come down from here, but also like water, things like that.
Totally,
so we made sure that they were kind of level. Yeah.
And then I can see the other thing I wanted to touch on is the lights. You have two different color spectrums. Have you? I don't think these are these Barina ones.
Yes, they're the Barina ones. I'm still trying to figure out like I'm trying to do the blurple with the amaranth and different ones, and I'm just trying to see what works better. But most of them are all my longer crops, just so we could get that nice true leaf maybe. But and then maybe the color, but. I'm finding there's no difference. Yeah. I've been kind of shifting them. The way that I do the room really is like, these are all like my 10-day crops, and then this side is like mostly of my specialty. So, and I have these, not on this side, I think over here. Let me just pull these over here.
You got too many greens to...
Too many greens, I know. I'm running out. There's some specialty here. I have some alfalfa. There's alfalfa microgreens, my red Mizuna, some fava growing. I use the alfalfa for a sandwich mix because I had a customer that liked buying the alfalfa sprouts, and they were using it on a sandwich, and I said, well, I could grow the, so I throw it in Mizuna, kale, arugula, and a little bit of alfalfa. So I don't use a lot. I just kind of mix it in, but you could definitely try it.
And then the fava beans you're using.
Fava bean is now going to be for my summer mix. I'm going to do a sunflower, fava bean, and cantaloupe for this.
Very cool.
I do
That's a nice crunchy mix.
I do like a seasonal mix for the
Thank you.
for the one of my grocery stores. So it's fun. It keeps it fun. We transitioned out of the spring mix, and now we're going into the summer mix now.
It's a lot more mild than I would have thought. Like it's milder than alfalfa sprouts.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's really pretty. It almost looks like a clover too.
Yeah.
But it's really pretty.
It's honestly like a lot more delicate looking and tasting and texture than I would have thought alfalfa would be, because I'm thinking like clover in like a lawn and not like as a microgreen.
So then I have these, what I wanted to show you was like these little tags here. So like I try to keep the same crops, right?
In the same
areas. In the same areas, so you know where to go as well.
Like a
for another, like here. Eventually for like a staff member to know where to put everything after they take them out.
Yeah, totally.
So,
but I think honestly, like, first of all, it smells amazing in here. Like coming back, like obviously you have the AC on normally and the fans blowing,
right?
But it smells so good. Like it just brings back memories to like just like
for your farm.
But thank you so much for showing us around. I think this was I love this, like the small innovation and seeing you guys scale from when we last talked and just building the business, but then also taking time for yourself, because I think microgreen growers often they get burnt out. They work a lot. They build a business. They work their butts off to build it, and it's nice to be able to enjoy a little bit more of the other things in life than farming. As much as farming is an amazing and fun career to take on, but you got young kids, and spending time with them, I can imagine, is the utmost important.
Right now when they're little.
Yeah, totally. And it's just been amazing to see the farm in person. And thank you so much for
coming. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nicole.